kids are coming home this afternoon and I want to make something very nostalgic and very, very delicious. I grew up eating this all the time and Mama made it all the time. It takes many hands to make it, but it's so much fun. Today I'm gonna make pelmeni. Pelmeni is a Russian word for meat dumplings. A little dumpling that's wrapped, meat that's wrapped inside of piece of dough, and then it's boiled and then it's delicious. So today that's what I want to do. And since the kids are going to be home, my husband's going to be home, many hands will be making them, so the things will just move very, very quickly. So let me show you a very basic, a very simple recipe of pelmeni. Okay, all right, I'm going to start by making the dough first because the dough needs a little rest before I use it. So I'm going to start with all-purpose white flour. I'm going to take 4 cups. It's about 500 grams. So 4 cups of flour. Okay. And Mama always made it by hand, but today I'm going to be using my stand-up mixer because I think it will be much easier for me. Okay. To that, I'm going to be adding about a teaspoon of salt. Okay. So I'm just grinding up some salt here. It's my coarse sea salt that I like to use. And I always like to season the flour because there will be more flavor in my pelmeni. Okay, so this is close to a teaspoon. Close to a teaspoon. Okay, next to that, I'm going to be adding 1 egg. And I have 1 egg here. Just going to drop it in here. Okay, and I'm going to be putting this all into my mixer. Okay, and I'm going to allow the mixer to do all the heavy lifting because this dough requires to be tight dough, not sticking to your hand, but at the same time it's also a little soft. But so let me just turn this on and I'm going to start mixing. And to this, I'm going to be adding 200 grams of cold water. 200 grams of cold water. And I'm going to allow my mixer to mix about 5 minutes on low. Okay? 5 minutes on low. If by hand, about 10 minutes of kneading it, if it's done on a table. So this is unusual. Most recipes don't call for any oil, but I'm just gonna put a splash of oil here. And I mean a splash, really not that much at all. So let this bad boy mix it all and create dough. It's been mixing for about a minute and it's beginning to look like dough. At this time, I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna throw a towel over and I'm gonna let it rest for about 5-7 minutes. And the reason why I allow it to rest, it's not completely done as dough. It's gonna mix again, but I'm gonna allow it to sit and rest and the dough will become much softer and then I can work on it again. So I'm gonna just throw a towel right over it for about 5-7 minutes. While the dough is resting, I'm gonna work on the filling of pelmeni, and it's a meat filling. So in my case, I have 1 pound of beef. It is best actually if you mix half beef and half pork or some other meat. But you know what? Beef will just work as fine. So I have 1 pound of beef that I'm gonna be mixing together with some few delicious things that are gonna make these pelmeni so juicy and they're gonna melt in your mouth. Okay, so I'm just gonna put some meat here aside here. All right, and to that I'm gonna be adding 1 large onion. Okay, 1 large onion and 2 or 3 cloves of garlic. Okay, and onion is best that it's cut so small, I want to say literally pulverized, that you don't bite into a big chunk of onion. Okay, we want this onion to disappear. I remember back in the day when you couldn't buy ground meat, you had to make your own ground meat. Mama would put pieces of onion straight through a meat grinder. But in my case, I'm going to be putting everything through a food processor to make this all pulverized into one massive kind of soft mass. So I'm going to utilize the food processor. So 1 large onion goes in together with 3 small cloves of garlic. To that, I'm going to be adding some dry dill. If you have fresh dill, it's going to go very well. But if you don't have any dill at all, it's going to be fine as well. So I'm going to put about half a teaspoon of dry dill. To that, I'm also going to add about half a teaspoon of black pepper and about a teaspoon of salt. But this should be to taste, so it's really up to you guys, okay? And I'm gonna turn this all on and I'm gonna create one mass. Nice. Okay, so everything I'm gonna be mixing now with beef. I'm just gonna scoop everything out into the beef and I'm gonna mix it together with the beef. And this beef, this filling should be very, very soft. I remember Mama massaging it, giving it a nice massage, and sometimes she would even add a little bit of water. Now, the best way to do this is actually with hands. So if you want to wear gloves, you can wear gloves, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna do it just like this. And again, if you feel that the mass, this filling is not soft, it's okay to add a little water. Anywhere from a couple of tablespoons to like 1/4 cup, just to make sure that this filling is nice and soft. So because I put onion together with salt, the onion gave away a lot of juice, and look how soft it is. So Mama would throw it back and forth like this. It's amazing the memories that I have of my childhood, of things that Mama used to do while we were working in the kitchen. So I'm just gonna mix it all up and I'm gonna cover, and it's gonna let it sit on the side to be ready for the dough. I need to go wash my hands. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, as I expected, it got a little softer, so I'm gonna turn it back on, and now I'm gonna mix it for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay? All right, it's been mixing for about 5 minutes. Let's take a look at this dough. It's still quite firm, but see how it gives way on my finger? Okay, so I'm gonna finish it off right now on a table, just like this. I'm just gonna knead it by hand just a little bit, give it some love. And then I need to let it rest. I need to let it rest. My family should be here soon. I'm gonna let this dough rest before it needs to be rolled out for pelmeni. Okay, so I think it's about done. Okay. And I'm going to allow this dough to rest. How to rest it? You can wrap it in plastic so it stays, it doesn't dry up, or the old-fashioned way where you just put it on the table just like this. You take the bowl and you cover and you let it rest at least 25-30 minutes, or until you're ready to roll out your pelmeni. The dough has been resting for about 25 minutes now, and I think I'm gonna start getting other things ready. So once I make these little meat dumplings, I need to put them on a surface, and I need to make sure that they don't stick to anything. So I'm just taking a large cookie sheet or a cutting board of some sort, and I'm just generously layering that with flour so nothing sticks to it. All right, so there are a few different ways of making pelmeni, and you can use a special pelmeni maker, or you can do it by hand, and that's exactly what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna cut off a little piece. I'm gonna take and I'm gonna cut off a little piece, about like this. And the rest I'm gonna cover up again. So let me sprinkle a little flour so nothing sticks to my surface. And I'm gonna try to roll out this dough because this dough needs to be rolled out nice and thin. Nice and thin. If I need to add flour throughout my process, I will, so nothing sticks. But I need to roll this out thin because these are not doughy dumplings. They are meaty dumplings. So I need to make sure that my pelmeni dough is going to be nice and thin. Okay? And this is what I mean by tough dough. See how it doesn't always want to roll out? Maybe I need to let it rest a little longer. Okay, so I'm rolling it out to make very, very thin dough. So this is one of the ways of making it, where you roll it out just like a cookie sheet type of rolling out. And then we need to cut out circles. You know, being a little girl, the youngest in the family, we always would sit around the table and make this pelmeni, including me. And my pelmeni were the ugliest ones, but that's fine. It was still delicious and edible. All right, so let me roll this out. What's good about making this pelmeni, we always like to make them in a large portion, because whatever we don't eat today, we can freeze them and eat them whenever we want to. They cook very quickly. So on a busy night, you come home, you boil some water and you quickly cook pelmeni. And all my Slavic friends will know that pelmeni is something very nostalgic and very delicious. And very filling too. All right, so I think it's thin enough. And we need to cut out circles. How big of circles? So I have this water goblet. It's about 2.5, I think it's about 2.5 inches. So I'm gonna cut out circles. So I'm gonna just wet a little bit with flour so nothing sticks. And I'm gonna put it down, press it down, and make a circle out of it. Oh, this was an ugly one. Okay, you can do it that way. So this is gonna be one of the methods. I'm gonna bring a camera a little closer, I think, so you guys can see this. And I'm just making little circles. Okay. All this extra dough is going to go back under the bowl just so it stays nice and covered up and nothing dries up. Okay, so I'm going to put it back here. All right, now to these, we're going to take, remember this meat we made here? So I'm going to take about 3/4 of a teaspoon, or maybe a teaspoon, just like this, and put them in the middle of each circle. Okay, so in the middle of each circle, just like this. And then we're gonna be making our pelmeni. So you pick it up. I like to stretch a little bit on each side and begin to pinch everything nicely. Just like this. Pinch well so everything seals up. Because if it's not sealed up, guess what? During the cooking process, that meat will fall out and we don't want that. So we made this and it looks just like varenik, right? Just like varenik, but no, pelmeni has this shape. You pull up and you pull them together and you make this beautiful little dumpling and put it on top of your tray. And just like this, I'm gonna make the next one. Okay, pinch, 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 pinch on each side. Beautiful pinch, make sure it's sealed up on each side. Okay, nice pinch everywhere. And then you pull up and meet them together. Voila! And just like this, we're gonna be sitting around my kitchen counter. We're gonna be sharing stories about our week. We're gonna be talking and laughing and making pelmeni. By yourself, it's a lengthy process. You need to practice patience. But when it's so many people, so many fingers making these together, you'll be done in no time. Just like this. Isn't that beautiful? And meet up together. Nice. I don't like them very little. I like mine to be a little bit on the bigger side because I think that's what makes them delicious. All right. As promised, I wanted to show you another method. Another method, you take the dough and you roll out a little sausage, okay? About, I don't know, would you say this is about like an inch? Maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. And I'm gonna cut out a little pieces. Just like this, cut a little pieces. So this may be a little slower to some, but if you don't like to cut out shapes with this cup, then you can do it this way. So let me just put them all aside. So you can take each little piece and quickly roll a little circle. Now these circles are not going to be as perfect as the ones cut by the glass, but once they rolled up and pinched up and boiled, trust me, you're not going to know the difference. All right, so you can just make a little quick circles this way as well. And so somebody's sitting rolling them out while other people are filling them up with meat filling and pinching them up and making them into shapes of these beautiful little dumplings. All right, so this is a second method, but as you can tell, it's not the prettiest if you are speaking about the shape of it. But I can guarantee that they're gonna taste the same way once they are cooked up in all together. All right, honeys, just like this. Just like this. All right, so let me just start filling them up with meat as well. Just like that, just like we did with the other one. All right, and again, I'm gonna make little shapes of them. Just pull on the side a little bit and start pinching. Just like this. All right, and then again, and pinch together. And voila, pelmeni готов. And one pelmeni is ready. See, it's not the prettiest looking thing, but then pinched up, voila, ready. Water is boiling. It's time to cook these bad boys. So I'm just going to season the water generously, just like for pasta, because remember, if it's not salted enough, things will taste blah. So I need to make sure that it's nicely seasoned. Okay, so it's time for me to cook these guys up. What I like to do is I like to throw a few into some sort of a colander or something, and then put them in the water, because if I throw them individually, there's a chance that they will splatter back and boil. So just gonna dump them in here. See, the water sort of stops boiling for a minute because the temperature drops. I'm gonna do like one batch at a time. As soon as they come up to the surface, all right, oops, I'm gonna stir this up. As soon as they're gonna come up to the surface, I'm gonna let them cook for about 4 or 5 minutes so they're nicely done. They're gonna cook pretty fast. So they're still at the bottom. I'm gonna wait for them to come up and start all floating at the top. And when they're floating at the top, I'm gonna set my timer and I'm gonna cook them 4 or 5 minutes, maybe even 6 minutes. And that's how I know they're gonna be done. Pelmeni, delicious. Okay, let's take these bad boys out of the water into the serving platter. Ooh, yum. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, so to this, I'm gonna put a little bit of butter. So they're swimming in butter. I'm gonna put a little bit of butter and let them kind of sit in it and enjoy some goodness of butter. And I'm gonna work on the next batch before I serve it to the family. Look at that, yum. Okay, pelmeni are cooked. Now I'm just, as always, little butter on the top, let it melt so nothing sticks together. I'm gonna put a little bit of cracked black pepper on top, not too much, but just enough to say hello. And I'm gonna be serving it. Every region where I come from served it in a different way. Some people would serve it with butter and only butter. Some people would serve it with a little bit of butter and vinegar. Depends on the region. But mama always served it with sour cream, and that's exactly what I'm gonna be doing today. I'm gonna make a little scoop, a few delicious pelmeni meat dumplings, topped over with some sour cream. Yes, ma'am. Let's give it a taste. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. All right, pelmeni on the snow day. Here goes, kids. It's heaven in a dumpling. It's heaven in a dumpling. Okay. Friends, I hope you're encouraged to try this my recipe and make some pelmeni. Repeat after me, pelmeni. So be encouraged and try something new.